Folks, let me tell you about my good friend Todd Nettleton from The Voice of the Martyrs. For over 2 decades, Todd has risked his life to bring attention to the persecution of Christians around the world. Now he's written a powerful book called Faith is Forbidden, detailing his travels and experiences. As a special gift to my listeners, you can get a free copy of this incredible book by simply clicking the link in the description below or call 844-464-3043. We need to continue to summarize all of the wins that we are getting out of this Trump administration. We have a border. We are seeing a massive decrease in oil prices. The price of eggs is down. But also, we can't forget what Bobby Kennedy is also doing. There are ingredients in our foods that should not be there, period, that other countries do not allow. And Callie Means joins us now to discuss. Callie, great to see you, author of Good Energy and one of the leaders of the Maha movement. Callie, tell us this breaking news about banning red dyes and blue dyes from our food and the profundity of it.
It's a huge deal, Charlie. The food industry's been making the point that if you basically phase out ingredients that are banned throughout the rest of the world, it would impact 60% of food on grocery shelves in the U.S. They were saying that as if it was an argument not to do it. To me, that's an argument to do it. We have a huge problem where, let's just take the food dyes. These are petroleum and coal tar. Every study and every piece of common sense would tell you that if a kid eats that every day, it's going to cause issues. It clearly causes ADHD. Every other country in the world has led to the conclusion that it should be out of the food supply. The FDA, up until the Trump administration, has been a sock puppet of big food, big pharma. And Charlie, it was momentous and extraordinary yesterday. As of 4 p.m. yesterday, the FDA said this petroleum-based dyes, that they were safe. Marty McCary got up there with Secretary Kennedy and said it is poison. They said the FDA and the U.S. government and the Trump administration is going to take common sense actions to get these no-brainer chemicals out of our food. Charlie, we talked about this a lot. There's a chronic disease crisis. President Trump and Bobby Kennedy talk about this all the time, right? We have 38% prediabetes rates among teens in this country. They're going to take common sense action, common sense wins, and we're going to look back on history at this year and this first 100 days of the Trump administration when finally the HHS, the FDA, and the U.S. federal government stood on the side of kids.
Okay, I want to make sure this is clear, though, that these are cosmetic colorings. There's zero reason to have these if even one kid is hurt by them. Is that correct? How did we originally put them in here? Because we wanted to have our kids be more entertained by their food, that their food was too visually boring? Am I understanding this correctly, that they wanted to make our food more visually appealing and they risked child's health to do that? That's sick stuff, Callie.
Zero nutritional value whatsoever. They literally had scientists in a lab figure out how to combine literal petroleum to figure out how to make that neon red and that neon blue. And this is really important, Charlie, because I'm a free market person. This is actually a free market movement. This is correction of corruption. I always talk about it. The cigarette industry took over the processed food industry in the late 1980s and 1990s. They're the ones who really popularized these colorings. And they bought off the USDA to say they were safe. They bought off the FDA. They added 10,000 chemicals into our food. The cigarette industry owned 40% of the U.S. food supply in the 1990s. So there was real corporate capture here to tell us that these ingredients were safe for the sole reason of making that color pop. Actually, Charlie, it's amazing. We've dug into this. The U.S. companies make the food, make the Fruit Loops, make all these foods in the U.S. with watermelon juice, with carrot juice, and they ship them to Canada and ship them to Europe. U.S. exported food they make with safer ingredients. So they've bought off the organizations here just to have that color a little bit brighter, knowing that it's harming kids. Actually, Charlie, Ken Paxton in Texas just filed a lawsuit against some of the food companies because he thinks that they knew this many years ago, and he's actually searching for evidence of that. But that's clear. I mean, the food companies knew what they were doing, and they said it's safe for kids. So, again, just common sense. We've got a long way to go, Charlie. There's going to be win after win coming from Secretary Kennedy and President Trump. But these are no-brainer actions.
And so I want to put this image up on screen, which is U.S. Fruit Loops versus Canadian Fruit Loops. Okay, yeah, our Fruit Loops are, I guess, mildly more colorful, but let's put 253 up on screen. But Callie, what then? So you just look at Canadian Fruit Loops versus American Fruit Loops. Okay, ours pop a little bit more. First of all, kids should not be being pushed Fruit Loops in the first place, okay? Not exactly a good nutritional item to be pushing to your kids. Let's just put it that way. And so these food companies have been doing this for 30 or 40 years. Why has the food industry been poisoning us? Is it more profitable? And name the names of the companies. I imagine it's Kellogg. It's these major companies that have been making hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. And this food diet fight is a great one for you guys. I completely and totally support it. Keep on going, Callie. This is a big deal.
You hit on something else. So I'll name the names. The Consumer Brands Association, the American Beverage Association. These groups to this day are arguing petroleum-based diets are safe. And the American Beverage Association, Charlie, another huge win from President Trump and Secretary Kennedy, they've said we need to take soda off food stamps. Why is soda, sugar-laden soda, the #1 item on food stamps, a $140 billion entitlement program that's supposed to be going to nutrition for lower-income Americans? We are literally subsidizing $10 billion a year from food stamps, from the federal treasury to soda companies. The American Beverage Association just last week said it was anti-science to suggest that subsidized soda for kids increases obesity. So these groups, the American Beverage Association and the Consumer Brands Association, which is where all these food companies hide, should absolutely be called out. You mentioned the dietary guidelines and Fruit Loops not being healthy in general. That's very important. The U.S. government recommends Fruit Loops as part of a healthy diet. The NIH funded a study under Biden that said Fruit Loops and Honey Nut Cheerios were healthier than ground beef, than grass-fed beef, and eggs. That's literally the guidance that's been coming out of the NIH. That study was also funded by food companies. A very important thing Secretary Kennedy is going to do. It's not regulation, but it's getting control of our dietary guidelines. Right now, the dietary guidelines recommend this crap to kids. They recommend added sugar as part of a 2-year-old's healthy diet. They recommend ultra-processed food as part of a healthy diet. They say meat is bad and the best source of protein is beans. It is insane. President Biden said the top goal for the nutrition guidelines during his term was equity and inclusion. It should be about scientific rigor. Secretary Kennedy yesterday at HHS said a profound statement to me, Charlie. He said sugar's poison. Now, that doesn't mean we're banning sugar. That doesn't mean you can't have your Coke. But we should not be recommending it from the government, and we should not be subsidizing it. That's the first 2 years of MAHA here, Charlie. We're going to get the scientific recommendations correct so parents can make informed decisions, and we're going to stop the subsidies. Right now, 90% of our agriculture subsidies go to ultra-processed food, corn, soy, wheat. 0.4% go to fruits and vegetables. There's some basic market co-option that Secretary Kennedy, working closely with Brooke Rowlands, who's been a champion on this, is going to fix.